When the timer goes off on my stove, I got to take my Kaiser buns out and put my bread in. I'm baking bread from now on. At least until I don't know. I don't know. Um, what's beef bacon? All right, here. Let me just shut this part off. And let me go over here and pop out the part. Hi, Audrey Abbott, Falker Consulting. Hi, Paula. Laura Higgins. Hello, love. Mamakins. Our Urban Homestead. Rosie Slade and Sherry Leach. Well, there was 25 people a second ago. What just happened? What is beef bacon? Hey, Celeste, Fiona B. How are you? Jean Kubicek. Um, is that better or is this better? Which way is better for you guys? Is that easier on your eyes? Now let me just turn this down. I figure people are getting pretty tired of seeing me do the same things over and over again. So I'm in the process of recording a. Somebody once asked me if I could do a video, like just walking around doing the things I do on a daily basis, and I said that's a lot of work, right? Because I don't always do things. Oh my goodness. Oh, no, 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 no. I am not playing this game. No. And then she's going to go and she's going to bark and pretend somebody's pulling in the driveway to get my attention. No, she wants me to play. And she's like, no, you've been on the computer too much today, which I've been editing and stuff. Queen's knee, thank you. Would you like a card pulled? I haven't even set them out. I haven't done it in a while. I got some great news too. Are you going to come and say hello? Okay, she's going to come and say hello. Look at that, Gracie. Somebody gave you treat money. Oh my goodness. Yes, she's a mummy darling. She's a mummy girl. She's a mummy sweetheart, the best in all the world. Ouch. And her mummy loves her oh so much. 'Cause she's her mommy sweetheart. She's her mommy's girl. She's her mommy darling. The best girl in the world. Mwah. All right. Let's give you a treat. Oh, baby, on. You're going to go have a snooze now on the blankie under my table over there. And that's it. All right. You love mommy? Go lay down. Oh, there's Henry next door. He's better than Neighborhood Watch. Oh, you're at work. Okay, well, thank you very much. I tried spicy clamato and it was nearly inedible, but I love me some Mexican shrimp cocktail. There you go. Finally figured out what lamb's quarters are, and I have lots. Because some people are saying, oh, that's pigweed. No, what I showed you was lamb's quarters. There's three main edible plants that if you get them fairly young, they're really good eating. Well, there's three or four. There's stinging nettles. You don't cut them any hot when they're any higher than that, or else they're just tough and bitter. There's lamb quarters, memshos, the same. You keep them. You harvest them when they're young. Cut them down, they'll grow back, right? Lamb's quarters, and then there's pigweed. Somebody said what I was using was pigweed. It was not pigweed. And there is, what was the other one? Somebody called it something else, and it wasn't that. But there's many of them, especially like at our place. We don't have grass. Well, we kind of have grass up around the fire pit and stuff. But how we whippersnips that. And I've started a compost. Now, I'm not just throwing it in the ravine anymore. One of my old compost projects. I've got a big tall garbage can with holes around the bottom. So I've started saving my compost. And I told Howie, and next time he whippersnips, throw the grass clippings in there. You know, burdock is another edible. Absolutely. Uh, there was something else. The dandelion greens. All those things are actually edible, right? I'm so happy today. I got 40 pounds of chicken for $30. Holy score! Absolutely well done. Hey, Joe Mama, how's it going? Lacey Black. Good score, Lacey. Well, I just realized that I've been pulling purslane for your purslane's another one. Purslane's another one. You got to look at weeds as two things. Poisonous, well, three. Poisonous, medicinal, edible. And once you know the difference, you're off and running. But guess what? I'm sprouting. And yes, it's a video. I'm telling you, I just about. No, that wasn't a great score. It wasn't me. 40 pounds of chicken for $30. That was not me. Do you want to know what my great score was? I've arranged to purchase a half a beef. I'm getting a side of beef in December. Do you know how much this side of beef, this is the guy who put his thing on the car? $5.50 a pound, all cuts. But I'm getting it for $5 a pound. And it's 200 pounds of meat. And I'm going to ask if I can have, some marrow bones and some beef neck bones as well. Oh, my thumb? My thumb's awesome. The skin all peeled where I had poked it, and it's a little red, and it's new skin, but no, it's awesome. I just kept at it until, I wasn't, I have made a doctor's appointment. I am going to the doctor because I'm getting, from here in like a hand size all the way up and over here. It gets tingly. And I would say it's my bra straps, but I've had bazungas before. And that's never caused a problem, except when they were like, 10 pounds, right? Is there a way to preserve dandelion greens? Absolutely. Dehydrate them. Dehydrate them. I know. This is like I could buy the meat locally, but you remember when I went to the farm store, the stew meat and the hamburger meat was $10 a pound, and that was over a year ago. I'm getting a half a beef, 200 pounds. For $5 a pound. That's $1,000, and I get to pay $200 a month until I've paid $800. Right now, yeah, $800 a month, $800, and that'll be what, this month, June, July, August, September, and then when we pick it up in December, I give the final $200 payment. We're getting it for $5 a pound because of the ad on Howie's car. That we, that was $100 discount. So, hey, Stephanie, how are you? Your local butcher may give you clean bones for free or very cheap. It's a waste of them. No, the only local butcher I have is like the meat counter at the IGA. Now there is one up in Gracefield, but that's $20 in gas to go to Gracefield and back just to pick up free bones. They're not free now, are they? This is what I was trying to talk about the other day. I ate a full pound of roasted okra last night all by myself, and it was amazing. Hey there, superfoods. Slime of okra is amazing. It's good for diabetes too. They say if you soak okra, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know dick about okra, but if you soak okra in water for a certain length of time, like you cut the ends off and you soak it in water and you drink the water, apparently it's like insulin, or it helps you fight off, it helps do something to your blood sugars. Bev, is your butcher in Quebec or Ontario? Well, the butcher, the farmer I'm getting it from is in Ontario. in the Ottawa region. I just spent 10 minutes looking for a toy playing random music. I done that. Oh my gosh, you just reminded me of something. I used to have a Santa Claus mug that played every time you lifted it up, and it got really annoying. Every time you lifted it up, the light hit the bottom, and it played this Christmas tune over and over and over again, and it got broke. And I don't know why I kept the bottom part, but one day, I mean, like 2 years later, I'm hearing coming out of one of my drawers, and I'm going, something's possessed in here. And I look and I go digging, and here it is. It's died. The sound thing has finally died, and it's just crackling and groaning noises. Is it ever funny? Okra and aloe are probably friends or cousins. Natural slime is good for the soul. Also used for a thickener in stews. Well, I have an aloe vera plant, and this is the first time I've had one. I haven't killed it. Today is Caden's 5th birthday, and it's like every toy battery needs to be replaced at one time. Oh my goodness. Hey, Danoof. I'm in Ontario. Would you please be kind enough to share the farm? Give me a second. Oh, no, I can't. Let me look it up. Just give me a second. I'll do it in the comment. I will do it in the comments afterwards, because I have to find the picture for it, because that has the name on it. It's on one of our videos at the races when I did the little sponsorship spiel. Breaded fried okra is the best. I love that stuff. I had that when we were in Ohio, and I could just give me a bowl of that shit and a bottle of ranch. I know I would have gained 20 pounds, I tell you. Elaine, email me. A Connected Hearts family. Hang on a second. Now, and I'll try and get it for you. But now, as far as I know, we're like the last customer of the year. Like before he could tell me, how much I could get, because he's got to butcher so many. Like he can't just butcher and then expect everybody to buy. He's taking orders. So you'd have to ask and get it in soon. Hey, Avon Leanne, how's it going? We have a little device with some not nice sayings. Oh, I used to have one of them. A parrot I got in a Vegas store. I was walking around this store of funny gag items and stuff. And I was walking around and looking at things, and there's clinking stuff and noise and ha-ha-ha's and stuff. And I walked down an aisle, and I heard, when I turned around to look, and I said, "Not you, lard ass." I just about pissed my pants. I had to bring that home. It was a parrot. It was a pirate parrot. And it had all these sayings, it whistled at me as I walked by. It was like motion activated. I don't know, whatever I did with that. Okra pickles. Now there's something. Oh, you haven't missed much, Elaine, or Avon Leanne. I've just scored a half a beef. I'm getting it in December for $5 a pound. Now, I'm pretty sure he sells at $5.50 a pound. But that's all cuts. You don't just say, I want, when you purchase a quarter beef or a half a beef, then you get a cut sheet that you tell them what you want. I'm going to get me a rib roast for Christmas. Sadly, I have some family that is waking up and panicking and getting angry at me for giving advice. Well, don't give advice. Let them come to you. Lead by example. You cannot wake up people who don't want to be woken up. But when they are waking up at the 11th hour, which this is, let them watch you. Let them ask you. Don't give them advice. I'm exhausted today. Hey, says, how's it going? Dragging butt to get dinner done. Was out in the garden most of the day, finishing, planting, and fertilizing others. Well, then, it tell them if they don't want to know the truth, don't ask. Just say, you sure you want to know? Right? I mean, I was talking to my son today, and they had a 6-day power outage, so they lost everything in the freezer. He said it wasn't much, but he said, you know what? I'm having a really hard time finding bean seeds. And I said, I got you, because I think they're coming up this weekend. It was supposed to be next weekend, but it's this weekend, I think. I said, I got you. I got bean seeds. Like I said, he said, we're having a hard time finding beans. I said, well, when you come up, I'll send you home some jars of beans. He said, no, Mom, bean plants or bean seeds or bean plants. I said, then buy the seeds. He said he can't find any of them. And they've built a little raised garden outside the driveway. And so I said, yeah, come on up. I said, it would be a good idea to plant, some beans and then wait a week and then plant some more, or a couple of weeks in couple of successive plantings. And then you'll have them all summer, right? They want you to do it for them. Oh, and do it for free. Exactly, Queenie. Thank you. Hey, Gypsy Mama, how's it going? Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, nobody's asking me, right? Because I'm, people don't ask because they know I'll tell the truth. We had a neighbor who wanted me to can their stuff for them, told them no, but was happy to teach them how. They got pissed. Yeah. This is a problem with a lot of there's a lot of people out there that think that they can just pay to have something done, right? And what they don't realize is we are already going 24/7, stacking our own pantries. And when you offer to, it's like give a man a fish, right? Feed them for a day, teach them to fish, feed them for a lifetime. Teach them to can. If they don't want to be taught to can, then too bad. Right? Arthur and Mel, they have a dehydrator. They do boil bath canning. You know what I mean? They're not. I can smell the Kaiser buns coming out. As soon as the timer goes off, I'm going to have to go and put the bread in because the bread takes longer. So I should have put the bread in and then just. I'll be right back. Oi! When the timer goes off, I'll just take the muffins out and then the Kaiser buns out and reset the timer. No, Gracie. Not right now. You just came in. It's like I give, as soon as I show somebody else attention. Now, what were we talking about? Volunteered yesterday at a local place where anyone can come for a free meal at lunch. Some lady got pissed about not being offered a cup of coffee and left. What? I heard stories about one woman. They used to, Now listen, if deer got hit on the highway and were reported, they would be, a butcher would volunteer his time and they would clean the animal and they would give them to the homeless shelters for feed, like ground. They would butcher them, grind them, all, stew meat, all that stuff, soup, bones, everything. And one lady found out she was eating venison and she complained. And now none of the homeless shelters can have wild game that's killed on the highway. Nobody can. They have to be disposed of or sent to a dog food factory. Hey, Malka, how's it going? I volunteered to can my neighbor's peaches for him last year. I worked up so many cases of peaches, 3 trees worth last year. And did you get paid in canned peaches? Because I love me canned peaches. Love me some canned peaches. I don't know what to do with my pears this year, so I might ask, I might put it out on my thing that, if you want pears off, these are John pears, and if you want them off my tree for something, come and get them. Maybe you could bring me some of your tomatoes or something, right? Hey, Donald. Yeah, that I know. I just, tonight's supper is venison vegetable soup. My last, it's a pint and a half. It's a 750 ml. The spaghetti sauce jars, the Atlas spaghetti sauce jars. This is my last jar. And so I'll tell you, I got to tell you. Hi, Joanne. I don't know where Seashell is. Let me just, she may be getting ready for a thing. I don't know. But you know what? I forgot to share it. Hang on a second, guys. Give me a second. I shared it on Facebook, but I usually send, like Malka and a few other people, the or send that to my sister. Hang on a second, guys. You reminded me. Can I buy a Wolfie t-shirt from you? If you come into the live, I'll tell you, you have to buy it through Bonfire. I don't make them. I don't distribute them. I just design them. Howard Foley sent an attachment. Oh, a little Frenchy dog. God, he's killing me. All right, hang on a second. There's Joe. Hang on. One more. Because I forgot. This is my fault. I forgot to do this. Paste. There we go. And Angie. I just forgot Angie. Angela. Her ex-husband and daughter are in town for a visit. So she probably is visiting. Anyway, now, what was I talking about? My produce gal tells me the prediction of the cost of this year is astronomical. She never gave a price. Yeah, right? You wonder why I don't have 31 beds in because my 2 zucchinis count as 1 bed and my chard and my spinach kind of count as 1 bed. So it's 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. I got 30 beds this year. Pickled carrots and jalapenos are good. Hey, Threads and Jars, how's it going? Well, you got to look at prices this way, right? You have to look at prices in the sense, hang on a second here. Hang on. There. Okay. You got to look at prices in the sense as like when I did the gas and groceries video. Everything in the store has been brought by a trucker. So the prices are going to automatically go up. If you buy it from the farmer's market, you've got to pay for the fuel on the machinery, right? Plus their time, plus the gas to get it to the market, plus the cost of the stall. So you've got to cut out, if you can, all these middlemen. Because every time it takes a step, it gains in price because of the cost of fuel. Like that was my example. I went to the grocery store, I spent $27 in groceries, and it cost me $47 because it cost me exactly $20 in gas to go there and back. One tomato plant didn't take. Do I have time to plant a tomato if I can find one? Absolutely, Malka. Absolutely. Planning for future homeowners to be upset with me. I love mint. I love you, Queen Nee. It's pretty invasive. Oregano is invasive too. That's why I planted it in a pot. I've got to get my canning lids ordered this month because I'm almost out, but I have to wait until my bills are paid. Are you getting 4 jars canning lids? Because, hang on a second now. Sorry. Dashboard. Copy. And remember, use the coupon code half acre, all one word in capital letters, for 10% off. Okay? Did I put that up there? Yes, I did. Bev, I have a lot of dehydrated older veg. Have you ever just threw everything in a pot to get rid of it, meaning soup stock? Absolutely. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you. Yes, I have. It's like at the end of the year soup, just before you start dehydrating and everything, you throw everything in a big pot and you make soup. Now, I've been saving my onion ends. I hadn't done it in a while because I got used to only saving the vegetable ends and stuff when I was harvesting stuff from the garden and had a large supply. So I've got a bag in my freezer for bread bags. B, I have a bag in my freezer for other bags that need to be washed in hot soapy water and bleach. And C, I have a bag in my freezer for vegetable ends. So I had that baby bok choy ends. Oh, you got to hear this. Baby bok choy ends. I had bought organic tomatoes, and so we'd use a couple of them for meals, and I threw the ends and the tops in the bag in the freezer. My onion ends, right? And then when I was draining celery for the meatloaf supper, there was like a half a cup of liquid, or 3/4, not even a half a cup, maybe 1/3 of a cup of the juice because I only used a half pint. And because the bag of stuff in the freezer was frozen, I just kind of shook it down and I poured the juice over it and it froze to the produce. And I threw that back in the freezer. So last night we had chicken and Annie's and home canned green beans. And I said to Howie, don't eat the cartilage off the ends of your bones. And he goes, why? I said, I'm making soup tonight. And he goes, okay. And so we put a paper towel aside, and when we finished eating our chicken, we put the bones on. And I don't care what anybody says, it gets boiled. So you don't want to, don't eat soup at my house, right? So I know I love my 4 jars canning lids. That's why I sold all my Bernardin lids for 50 cents a box at the yard sale, because all I'll use is 4 jars. So anyway, last night, before I went to bed, I threw the bones in the crock, and I threw the water from the green beans, the jar of green beans that, you heat it up and then you drain it. I threw the water from the green beans in there. And then I added my veg and stuff from the freezer, and I put some water on it. I woke up starving. Oh, the tomato ends, the bok choy, the onions, chicken bones, celery juice, bean juice. I woke up in the middle of the night starving just from the smell. It was like, ooh, what's that? It woke me up. So then today I got up, and I'm making a video, and remind me to explain to you in a minute how I'm doing it. So I got up and I just took one of my fine mesh scoops and took all the goop out, like all the ends and stuff and the bones and everything out. And there was this, about this much, really dark, delicious smelling broth. And I popped open a jar of my last pint and a half of canned venison. In that went. And I threw in a jar of my garden medley. In that went. And then I threw in a pint of home canned kidney beans. In that went. And then I rinsed a half a cup of barley, and in that went. That's supper. And guess what? The buns are in the oven. Homemade multi-grain Kaiser buns and bread to go with supper. I'm telling you, Howie's going to be in his glory. But I'm really grateful that it's kind of a cool rainy day. I recooked my chicken bones to make broth. Absolutely. Hi, Jackie. How's it going, Jacqueline? So anyway, somebody asked me a long time ago to do a day in the life of Mrs. Wolfe and just take the camera around with me. But that takes a lot more than I have in energy. So, like the puttering with Mrs. Wolfe, I'm doing I'm just doing snips of what I do, over a course of a couple of days. So, you're welcome. Bread is comfort food. Absolutely, Avonlea Ann. Hi, Willows. Sorry I'm late. I had to get some more boxes to pack stuff up. Where are you moving? In the winter, I make leftover soup. Everything on Sunday from the fridge goes into the crock pot and have some broth, and that's for dinner. Well, I'm hoping Arthur and Mel are coming up this weekend. If not, it'll be next weekend. And which would be kind of crappy because Howie's going to the races next weekend. So this weekend would be ideal. My house is a mess, but that's all I can do, So I'm going to spatchcock one of my chickens and make, vegetables and rice. And I'm going to make a cheesecake. I'm going to make the cheesecake tomorrow and freeze it because I bought the gluten-free stuff. I'm going to make the cheesecake itself and freeze it. And I keep it really simple, folks. Oh, I got to get some cream cheese. Shoot. Cream cheese, eggs, and sugar. Whipped. You don't have to add anything else. It's bloody rich stuff. And then I'm going to freeze it, and I have 1 jar of apples left that I'm going to strain the apples off, cut them in half, right? And then I might not even cut them in half. And then take the syrup and add some cornstarch and some cinnamon and thicken it, and then put the apples in and just pour that right over the cheesecake. Apples and cheesecake, come on, right? I have a magnet on my refrigerator that says my house was clean yesterday. Sorry you missed. That's a good one. Hey, Pen. I'm not planning on dehydrating much this year. I am going to dehydrate some green beans. Oh, there's my oven. I'll be right back. And carrots. Those are basically the things I dehydrate the most. I don't like dehydrated peppers. If I get a load of onions, I'm going to freeze a bunch. I'm planning on storing everything I can. Oh, damn. Oh. Nice crusty Kaiser rolls. Those are Howie's sandwich rolls. What is this? Hanging off my chair. Nice crusty Kaiser rolls. I'm moving closer to my mama. She's 82 this month, and I'm just not able to take care of 6 acres. Cost me $100 just to get my yard mowed last week. Oh, cost of gas. Cost of gas. That's a lot of money. Exactly. Exactly. So I've got so many plans for everything. Even my Swiss chard is starting to come up. And I saw this video. It's cool and damp here. I saw this video. Oh, so I'm compiling a video. Just compiling a video of like weeding in the garden, baking the bread. And I'll tell you something. I was thinking of Ma Engels last night because to me, even with a KitchenAid, baking bread can be a pain in the butt, right? So what I ended up doing is I ended up taking my, putting the bowl on my big KitchenAid and the whisk. And in the bowl, and it's kind of like a cross between sourdough starter and I think what Ma Engels called a bread sponge. I could never figure out what she meant because then she always added flour and kneaded it up and made it into loaves, right? So what I did was I took 4 cups of flour, 4 cups of warm water, not hot, ever, you'll kill the yeast. Warm water, like baby bath, the temperature you'd bath an infant in. That's what I call bread ready water. 4 cups of water, 4 cups of flour, a tablespoon of yeast, and a third of a cup of sugar or a quarter cup of sugar. And I whipped it all together. And then I put my silicone mat over it and I just set it in the oven for the night. No oven light, nothing. When I got up this morning, it was this bubbly, gluteny, wonderful mess. And I just stuck it back on the KitchenAid. I added oil, salt, and flour, and I've got 7 Kaiser rolls and a big loaf of bread for the rest of this week. Well, no, I've never made friendship bread. I found about 50 volunteer tomato plants in my yard. You better believe I'm letting them grow. Oh, honey, yes. And it's been really damp and cool, not overly hot for June. It's almost like we're having a cool summer, right? That is cool. I have mystery squash and I'm letting them grow too. I would love to have a garden. However, we have more house than yard. Okay, well, Joanne, start sprouting. I was going to tell you about that. Excuse me, I'm wearing one of my Wish bras and it just keeps sliding all over the place. What does the term volunteer mean? Is that a particular breed of tomatoes? No, Mama Kinsey, that's a very good question. Volunteer means you had a tomato that dropped to the ground and you didn't see it, or a couple of tomatoes in your tomato patch, and plants started growing on their own. As for your volunteer, honey, your volunteer tomato plants, if they are growing in the same place your tomatoes were growing last year, get yourself some eggshells, dry them, toast them, whatever, but get yourself a shitload of tomato eggshells or oyster shell from the co-op. Eggshells I save all winter. Do equal amounts, crushed eggshell and Epsom salts, and work that in to the drip line around the plant. The drip line means, like halfway out, not a drip line like a tree line, but halfway if the leaves come out to here, then work it in around this far around the stalk of your plant, because you're going to get blossom and rot if you have them growing in the same place they grew last year. That's me furnishing my John Deere tractor and the fuel and my weed eater plus the fuel. Oh my God. Well, see, we don't do that. We have an acre, right? Well, okay, just under an acre. So it's still called my half acre, right? Or our half acre. Howie just whippersnips. He just whippersnips. When I say, okay, you got to clear around the garden. And then once or twice a summer, he'll whippersnip up around the fire pit in case we want to, sit out and have a fire. Well, that's another thing I'm doing, Joe Mama. Um, I think we were from throwing them to the chickens. I fenced the area off today. Oh, good. Excellent. They come with their own fertilizer. Um, what did Joe Mama say? Oh, coffee grounds. So I have this old garbage pail, and I have now we got given this bin to haul our. I've told you this to haul our compostable waste to the curb. Now I live in the country. I don't give them my and they don't have anybody to pick it up. I mean, it was really badly they paid for all these bins, and I don't think they're getting picked up. So anyway, it comes with a little bucket with a lid and a handle on the back. It has a handle so you can carry it out to the garden, but it also has a flat back and a handle on the side. I'll show it in a video. And I keep that on my counter or under my sink. And every time I have like tea bags, coffee grounds, banana peels, stuff like that. And then once a week, I hand it to Howie and I say, go throw it in that black bucket. And I just got to get him to throw some soil on top. I'm making my own compost because I've been buying it. And that's like ridiculous, right? My whole garden is volunteer this year. I had to move my compost into my beds because new homes were being prepared and the woods got taken out. So I had to move everything. It's hundreds of meters. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. I wanted to get my church to do a community garden for families that need it. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. You see, here, we all live in the country, right? There's almost no apartments here. But I bought myself, or not myself, my sister, I gotta tell you, the message in the beans. Do you remember the message in the beans? Hi, Mindy. How are you, darling? I was in my baking cupboard, and I don't do a lot of baking these days because it's where I keep all my chocolate chips and icing sugar and all that stuff. And I saw a tin with a lid on it and like flowers and vegetables and everything on the lid. I thought, oh, that's pretty. And I went to grab it, and it's full of something, or not full, but half full of something. It's heavy. Well, it turns out I saw a YouTube video the other night where a guy made hanging veg containing from colander from a Dollar Tree. Remind me about that in a minute, and I'll tell you. And that's if you got a balcony, that's a really good idea. Use string to tie it up. Neat ideas. Okay. So I looked in it, and it's half full of mung bean seeds from when I used to sprout. Do you guys ever remember me sprouting or doing videos on sprouting? That's how long it's been. And I must have thrown out the sprouter things, and I thought, well, I don't even know. I'm not going to buy any sprouting trays until I know whether or not this and another like half-pound package of mixed seed for sprouting I found in the cupboard. Well, they may be dead. They could be 10 years old, right? So I soaked some mung bean seeds, some split, and I threw them away, and some floated, and I threw them away. And then I soaked them overnight in room temperature water, and then I rinsed them, and I rinsed them. And then I put them in this plastic tub with a bit of folded fabric. It's not just fabric, it's like the spongy shelf paper stuff that's got holes in it. And I poured them on there, and I've been rinsing them twice a day. The buggers are sprouting. They're sprouting. So there's going to be a video on that. And by God, it's no special equipment. Because today, I took the fabric out of the bottom. I don't even know why I put it in. Because all I do is put the lid on upside down and pour the water off, rinse, pour it off, and then add more water and put the lid back on upside down so it gets air circulation. Hanging vegetable gardens or strawberry trays are pretty amongst the other plants on the ground. My hubby's church grew a straw bale garden and donated the produce to those in need, and the soup kitchen last year. People, oh my God, we got to do more community stuff this year. Best of luck configuring. Keep the faith, you'll make it. What are we talking about? What did I miss? What did I miss, Willow? They only mowed about one half acre, just 1.5 acres just around my house and driveway. Can't afford to get the whole thing done. Well, you know what? That's why I don't have grass. What's the point? I got I got a comfrey garden and colt's foot. My volunteer marshmallow plant, two of them have come back. Um, I've got yarrow growing wild, plantain growing wild. The hell would I want to cut grass? I just let things grow wild. And when they get like to the point where I can't walk around the fire pit without maybe tripping through some weeds, because I don't pick up my feet, I have no knees. How are you whippersnips? And I told them last night, I told them yesterday, when you come home, you need to whippersnip the garden because it's supposed to rain the rest of the week. And if it rains through till Monday, I won't be able to go out and weed because the weeds will have grown that much. So God love them. I'm sitting here last night talking to my patrons in an unlisted live, and I would think coconut core or straw. Oh, you know what else you can use? Moss. If you know where there's some woods, where there's lots of trees falling and stuff like that, that thick green moss that grows on fallen trees, it's the ideal thing for hanging baskets or living wreaths on your door. And I'm telling you, a lot of places in the Appalachians, a lot of people, they gather that stuff and sell it to florists. Well, they used to before COVID, so God only knows if that's been disrupted or not. Coffee filter. I use my mushroom plastic containers to use for microgreens. I'm gonna try my next set in a smaller container, and I'm just gonna put folded paper towel in the bottom. Just folded paper towel. Moss, yeah, absolutely. I look around here and I see logs down in the back and stuff with big thick patches of moss, and I go, man, if I could only get down there to get it. You know what I mean? It's only I could get down there to get it. I bought a pound of chia seeds 10 years ago, and I'm still using those babies. They sprout and bloom in water, and you can eat them, right? But you can also, if you mix chia seeds in a glass of water before you go to bed at night, it helps you lose weight, or it helps clear your colon out a bit. Walmart or Michael's used to have that. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can use, right? Now, what else was I saying? Oh, so I was trying to think of a gift to give my sister as a housewarming gift. After bouncing, do you remember when she was staying here? After bouncing from house to house to house, she finally got an apartment and of her own. But it's on the 9th floor, and her balcony isn't really a balcony. It's just a patio door with a grate across it, kind of thing. And her best window is in her bedroom for sunshine. So I thought, what could I do? Because I think it's really, really important that we work with living things. It gets us closer in touch with the earth, right? Hey, MLP, how's it going? I just put a thin layer of seeds starting soil, a really thick layer of seeds, and then a handful of soil over the seeds for the microgreens. You don't even have to do that. Just put some paper towel down in the bottom of the thing, moisten it, and then put the seeds down and spray them every day with a bit of water. So what I did was, for my sister, I thought, microgreens, right? So I went to Amazon and I bought her 12 different packages. It's like 1.5 pounds of seeds. And then they arrived yesterday, but her trays, and then 3 starter trays with the spray bottle. And I said, can you eat microgreens? Because I couldn't get a hold of her on the phone, because I don't know what her stomach will allow and what it won't, right? And she said, oh, yeah. So I said, oh, well, happy housewarming. And that's awesome, because all I ever have to do if I want to let her know I'm thinking of her is send her some more seeds. I don't have the animals anymore. I don't have them either. Plus, they went up $50,000 on my property. I already pay $3,000 a year just to live on my property. See, that's another reason why we live where we live. When we first moved here, the property tax was like $250 a year. But of course, somebody moved from the Lepeche line just across into our county line, sold their farm because they kept the option to you. We have it so you can't divide up farmland anymore, unless you opted out for that when the time came. But if you didn't opt out for it, you go through a nightmare like I did, just expanding our lot, right? But somebody had opted out and said, no, we want to be able to divide it. And they had 22 acres. And what they did was is they had it all severed up into 22 lots, 20 or 30 lots. And they charged 80 grand a pop for these lots. And it's just over our county line. So our property values went up. So, and then of course, we put a new roof on, new foundation, an addition, all of these property improvements, plus we enlarged the lot by almost a half acre. So our taxes have gone from $250 a year to $1,100 a year. Somebody pulled in next door or is leaving. Good job, Henry! Good job, Henry! I love that. I mean, if it was somebody's dog barking or something, that would drive me batshit crazy. But I love that donkey. He's the best neighborhood watch system we have. Yeah, they're pricing us all out of property. Absolutely. So, I mean, we're going to have to get the house assessed next year so I can roll over my mortgage and take over at least one loan that I'm paying way too much interest on. And if I do it, I'm at 2.9% interest right now on my mortgage. So is Henry up all night braying when things go in the night? No, he only does it if like coyotes come near or something suspicious happens. It isn't often. And even if it does, it's neighborhood watch as far as I'm concerned. My sister had a donkey next door to her. I named him Hody. Oh my goodness. Did you ever see that TikTok or Instagram video where the people, like, there's a horse and a donkey behind a fence, and it's got an electric fence, and they're up there with their dogs, and the one boxer on the leash goes up to smell, and he touches the friggin' electric fence, and he goes, yipe, and he takes off so bad he busts his collar. The donkey starts laughing like crazy. It's the only explanation for it. He's going, oh, at the dog. Like, yeah, we learned that one a long time ago. Don't touch the fence. Hey, Lucy, how are you? They are pricing all, even the USA, out of our properties. Yeah, So this is why, like Howie said the other night, I opened the freezer and I said, see this bag? And he goes, yeah. I said, that's for bread bags. See this bag? That's her. He said, I don't cook. I said, but you leave bread bags on the counter. And he goes, and he saw a piece of tinfoil hanging. And he saw a piece of parchment hanging on my coat hanger with the clothes pegs over the sink. And he goes, why would you wash tinfoil? You've got boxes and like 2 boxes of it at least, like the Costco boxes. And I said, well, prices are rising. And I said, and they tell you not to use those metal wire brushes on your grill, barbecue grill anymore, because people are finding the bits and pieces of the metal brush in their food. And he said, yeah. I said, would you rather I use a perfectly good piece of tinfoil that only has a little tear in it and I've washed to crumple up with some Dawn and vinegar and clean your barbecue grill? Or would you rather me use a brand new piece from a box I can't afford to replace? And he went, right. I said, now hear me, honey. And this was last night. I said, every time we rewash a bag, reuse a milk bag or tinfoil or parchment, 25 cents goes into your race car. And he went, that can add up. I said, bloody right it can. Right? See, we're so used to being taught reduce, reuse, recycle. Right? But half of the 75% of the stuff you put in your recycle bin gets dumped. Do you know why? Because one person along the route didn't wash out a tomato paste can. Boom. They find anything in there that's not supposed to be in there, they dump it in the landfill. So wouldn't it be better to look at your packaging and go, okay, this may be $1, but none of that packaging, there's too much packaging and none of it's reusable. Put it back, right? We have to learn. I pay $1,200 for my 100 acres for my taxes. Yeah. See what I mean? And I live in the middle of nowhere. I still haven't got 5 yet. Cleaning cast iron, scrubbing your skillets. And somebody pointed out my frying pan. They said, Teflon's poisonous. It's not Teflon, but you're right. It is getting scratched. So no matter what, I'm not gonna use that anymore. I'm gonna get Howie to bring in my great big cast iron skillet from the. It was nice for a while to use something that was lightweight, but I'm gonna get him to bring in my big cast iron skillet for all my one pot stir fries and stuff. Totally agree. Wish we had milk in bags like you get. Well, I mean, jugs are a pain in the butt too, right? So these bags, I'm going to look into buying, if I can, a sorbent systems. I'm going to talk to them into giving me one if I can, because this has a snorkel on it, and you can reseal any plastic or Mylar bag. You can vacuum seal, like you can reuse a chip bag, and you can vacuum seal stuff in that. You just make sure you can put a good label on it before it goes in the freezer, right? I know, I love cast iron too, but it's coming to all of us before it's over with. This is the point. We have been taught to go, we have been funneled into a system that has taught us that time can be measured, which it can't. It just is. But some smart ass out there in the system decided to divide up time so that they can control our days, where we go, where we eat, where we work, what we get in education, everything. It's all about control, right? And we get funneled. Why am I going to a grocery store that costs me, I wouldn't spend $100 in that grocery store. And even if I did, it's still going to cost me $120. So this is true. We were taught to buy and not reuse. And we were taught that if we just throw it in the recycling bin, it's going to be okay. No, it's not. 75% of what gets thrown into the recycling ends up in the landfill, right? Hey, Doris, how are you, darling? So we have to unprogram ourselves. We have to deprogram ourselves from the system that we now know is crumbling. The cost of gas, I don't care who you blame it on, right? I don't care who you blame it on. The cost of gas has gotten to the point where we can no longer afford to do the system that they have forced us into. So I'm going to say this to you. If you live anywhere near farm country, start looking at signs on the side of the road. Start phoning farmers and saying, what do you raise? Can I buy? And you put down a deposit of earnest money on the hope of their harvest. Don't wait for them to harvest and then ask them to buy it. It won't work that way. They need to know how much they're going to raise, right? Pieces, and a piece from my great grandmother. Yeah, some of my one of my cast iron pans and one of my Dutch ovens was my dad's. The Findleys. So, I mean, we have to deprogram ourselves from the way we've taught to be consumers. We have to take a step back and say, wait a second. If I go to the grocery store, it's going to cost me X number of dollars in gas. And everything I buy in the grocery store has been marked up from the farmer to the packing plant, from the packing plant to the distribution center, from the distribution center to the grocery store. That's like 4 markups, right? And like I said, the farmers markets aren't going to be much better, right? Person I've bought beef from for 8 years is not selling this year, keeping it all for his family. Can't blame him, but I'm sad about it. Well, I get that. I get that, Urban. I get that. Like, as soon as I found out, like when I saw the sticker on the back of the car and he said, this is, a guy at his work and they raise beef. And I went, and he sold us. They had a little bit extra in their freezer last fall and they sold us like $100 worth of meat. Do you remember that video? Well, that's where I'm buying my beef. And I talked to him yesterday because I kept saying to Howie, arrange for me to be able to pay beef for the beef. And he goes, no, you phone him, right? So I phoned him. And he said, let me get back to you. And I said, okay, you can text me if you want. And he came back with, okay, I can, because he has to now, his butcher can only handle so much, right? The guy who does his processing can only handle so much. So he said, okay, I can do another beef for December, right? But, and I said, okay, I'm going to give you 200, 200, 200, 200 over the next 4 months. And I said, I'll pay for it up front. And he said, no, save the last 200 for when you come to pick it up, because it's like a final payment thing before I don't want you to give me the money. What if the processing place burned down or something, right? Whereabouts in Northern Ontario? Sherry. Sherry, I'm in Northwestern Ontario. I wouldn't have thought being close to Toronto would be inexpensive. Well, I mean, I had a bag of lard fat in my freezer. I just processed it. Took all day and made 3 pints. I must get more. Well, see, this is the thing, right? Because I'm buying a side of beef, I get a cut chart. And I'm going to get my 4 rib standing roast. Rib in roast. I'm gonna. I don't care if it takes up 1/10 of my entire order, right? But I'm gonna get, hamburger, stew meat, a nice rib roast, probably the short ribs, I'm gonna get everything I can, but I'm gonna ask also, can I have beef neck bones and marrow bones for my dog? Well, actually, I will probably cook the bones and then roast them. Or roast them and then boil them and then give them to Gracie. But the power of bartering is something I haven't seen yet. I'd babysit a passel of babies for a long time for a beef. If I needed that, I'd mow, rake, paint, whatever to get wood, exactly. Like, for instance, next month in July, I'm going to ask, I'm going to put out a thing on my local Facebook page and say, okay, I need somebody to come and give me an estimate on trees. Because there's trees Howie can cut down, and there's trees that are too dangerous and need to be done by a professional, right? But I also have dead wood standing. I've got a great big huge poplar hanging over the hydro lines. I've got 2 or 3 dead spruce and a couple of dead maple trees, right? They all have to come down. And that's firewood, already seasoned, because it's dead wood standing. And then I have a couple of other big trees that I want removed. Not removed, I want cut down. And I want to get a price on, this tree, this tree, this tree, this tree, this tree. And you can shred all the spruce into the fill where we're building up our ravine, part of our property by the garden. The dead hardwood can be cut up in log lengths, and we'll just deal with that ourselves. And then in a separate pile, put the green trees that are going to have to get cut down, and put them in log lengths, because next spring they'll overwinter laying down, and next spring they'll be cut and split to season all summer. And then with all the mulch from the hardwood, I'm going to ask them to shoot it, chip it into a pile so that I have mulch for in between my garden beds, right? Uh, I ordered 4 piglets, was supposed to pick them up on on May 28th, but the guy who was a friend sold them on me, so I know I'm still trying to get 4 piglets. Well, that's the thing. Where we live is tree country. Trees and rocks are the main trees, rocks, and rolling pastures, right? It's not really much growing here but hay and beef and stuff, right? So even if it costs me $1,000, now listen, even if it costs me $1,000, right? I've got all my firewood for this year and next. I've got mulch to put in between my garden beds to keep the weeds dead and down. I've got mulch for my like celery beds and stuff because as the summer gets hotter. I've got branches and stuff from the spruce and that being mulched and shot into the over our fill. I'm actually not paying just to get my trees trimmed. I'm paying to get trees cut down, cut into log lengths, mulched, and taking down dangerous and dead trees. So if that costs me $1,000, I got 2 years worth of wood. That's going to cost me 2 years worth of wood's going to cost me $1,000 easy here. So that's kind of what I mean, right? And I always, whoever does the work, I always do a video for them. I always do a video. Like I've had more than one tree guy out here. As a matter of fact, the last time I had a tree guy out, it wasn't the one I usually did, and he got really pissy with me. And it's like, hey, you're in Chelsea. These guys are local. And why not, right? Last time I got an estimate, it was $6,000 for trimming up 3 trees and taking down 2. Well, you live in the city though, don't you? See, here, it's not that big of a deal. And I watch these guys go right up the trees, up the trees, and they start cutting them from the top down. Somebody else is putting the branches through the chipper. You know what I mean? So I'm going to get a price. And I told Howie, I said, you start spray painting, put an X on the trees. Like next sunny day, I'm going to say, okay, get some bright green paint or bright orange paint and start putting X's on the trees that you don't want to do. So, off topic, but may I ask what happened to your glamour and makeup looks? I remember you enjoying that, and so did I. Oh, Laura, my skin didn't enjoy it. It was giving me, my eyes didn't like it. My skin didn't like the makeup. I could do it again. I'm actually doing an upcoming. When Angie's here, we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna do a whole glamour day of readings. Those will be tip only though. You can be there and enjoy it. But I'm gonna do it in the studio downstairs. Angie and I are gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in glamour too. Readings, the divining rods, the pendulum, the crystal ball. It's all going to be out there, and it's going to be in a character. I can't do it often, but I am going to do it. I'm kind of lucky. 75% of our land is bush, so we cut down our own wood, and I heat and cook the wood stove all winter. Our neighbor just had 3 big trees down, cost him $18,000. Glamour from natural sources. Well, yeah. Nah, I'm just, you know what? I've gotten out of wearing makeup, and yeah, I was really enjoying it, but I don't like the long wigs. I'm going to keep the short black one because I'm going to be doing a gypsy tent at the Spooktacular this winter, or this Thanksgiving weekend in October, at the racetrack. I'm gonna do a Spooktacular. I'm gonna do a gypsy tent with a tip jar, and there's trees Howie can't manage because they're, and trust me, on his weekends off, I keep him busy enough, right? So Yeah, that's what's going on. So I've got a video. I'm starting a video on like, I gotta check my bread. I'll be right back. Oi! Oh, oh, snap, crackle, pop. Crispy knees. Ooh, isn't that pretty? I'll be right with you guys. What goes in must come out. What goes up must come down. Spinning wheel, spinning round. Drop all your troubles by the riverside. Ride a painted pony, let the spinning wheel ride. Okay, now next. Bev, when I first found, hi Lucy, your channel last year, I tried your green tomato relish and loved it. Made 50 jars and my husband had them eaten by March. Oh my God. Well, I have pickling cucumbers growing. I have lots of zucchinis. You know the one zucchini bed where I had 6 and then I went, oh, nope, there's 8. There's 11 now. My husband used to scrape the roads around here for everyone in the winter so people could get out. That green tomato relish, just use the same recipe. You can use the same recipe with zucchini or cucumbers. It's all the same recipe. I love green tomato relish. And I mean, I had to get creative with tomatoes for the simple reason is for all the years I've been gardening, I used to live in Southern Ontario. Okay? I used to live in Southern Ontario. And so I could grow any tomato I wanted. But the farther north I moved, the shorter my season got. So it wasn't until like 2 years ago that I tried Manitoba tomatoes, and I'm like, zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay, I got tomatoes and a lot of them today, you know? So, hi, Andrew. How are you, darling? I have oh, good. I have 11 out there and 2 bins out there. So, and my watermelon's coming up. Oh, I wanted to tell you. Right. Got to keep on track. So I saw a video. I posted it in the Connected Hearts, I think, the other day of this Asian man. I think he was Vietnamese. And his garden was concrete. But he had all these inventive ways of growing things, especially squash. Now remember, I planted my spaghetti squash in those 2 beds, and I just threw a gate across between the 2 of them for them to climb on. And I'm thinking I'm already regretting the choice of planting them this in the garden, not in a bed on their own, like the watermelons, right? And then I thought they're gonna a nightmare. I'm gonna trip over vines. They're gonna go everywhere. They're gonna take over the beans again. Blah 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 blah. Right? Because I thought, if I get enough spaghetti squash this year, I can cook them and then string them and then freeze them along with like zucchini and all that stuff, because apparently wheat's going to go through the roof. Why would wheat go through the roof? I live in Canada where we have acres and acres and acres and acres, sections and sections and sections of wheat fields. Anyway, And then I saw this video of this little Vietnamese man. I think he was Vietnamese. Forgive me if I'm wrong. And he in a really long, narrow, like window box, deep box, he planted squash seeds. And when they were ready to be transplanted, and these are climbing squashes, what he did was, because you don't want to disturb the roots, right? So what he did was is he took this little wheelie cart, the kind that guys lay on their backs and go underneath a car in the garage, that kind of thing, a low wheelie cart. And he filled 2 feed bags full with dirt. And then he rolled the edges down. And then he poke all around. Now these weren't plastic bags, they were like the tarpy kind. And what he did next blew me away. He got bamboo canes and he put 2 on the outside of one bag and he pushed it down in and he put 2 on the other. And then he started twist tying crisscross pieces of cane. And he trained those to climb up and over these canes. And these squashes were like that bloody big, right? And he trained them. Hi, Jackie. How are you, darling? And well, I'm getting closer and closer to being a vegetarian, believe it or not. I'll never be a vegetarian, but I love vegetables more than meat. Okay. It's just a progress that's happened to me in the last few years. Anyway, and what he did was, like, I didn't get as much zucchini as I could have last year because I didn't know to prune out the bigger leaves that, that shade the flowers and inhibit them from being seen and stuff by bees, right? So what he did is he had these climbing, and as the fruit grew, it fell down and it climbed on all, and it hung from all the little cross pieces. And he just kept trimming. And at one point, he had just a little cap of foliage and flowers on top, and all these like squashes, like 10 or 15 of them hanging from this thing. I still have 3 cases of pints and 3 cases of quartz in cases. Just in cases. Your Parmigiana green caps for a quart jar works great for dried herbs. I know, but I don't buy that stuff. I only buy it if that's all I can get, right? I buy the grated Parmesan from Costco. So that's what I'm going to do. I asked Howie, could we build some kind of framework and like maybe out of 2x2s or something? He said, yeah. And then I realized that's one more project for Howie. And then I got to wait for him to have time to do it. I've got to buy the materials. So you know what I did? Hey, Village Steader. So what I did was I went on Amazon because I was trying to get them at Canadian Tire, and they wouldn't like they wouldn't let me order them at the store for Howie to pick up. It was all very confusing. So I just went on Amazon and said, piss on it. And I ordered 25 6-foot bamboo canes. Cause that's going to be a video, right? I just honestly think I'm going to do one on each box, right? So I can contain their growth. Going to be a busy year. Hey, Natalie, how are you, darling? Took your new puppy for a play date. Oh, wonderful. Been saving the glass jars and bottles. Going to try to cancel. You know what? I've been buying those peaches because we don't get peaches up here unless they're hard and yellow. And I've been buying those peaches from Greece in the glass jars at Costco. I started saving them. Those lids are really in good shape. And you can buy commercial lids for those jars. Now, they say don't reuse commercial jars, and I don't know anything, so don't listen to me, all right? But commercial jars actually have to be they have to be stronger because they go through massive canning processes on an industrial level. So you think about that for a minute. You think about those jars for a minute. Just pace yourself come harvest time. Freeze what you can to do later and don't do any hit any walls. No, I'm gonna like I'm not gonna if I get like a half a bushel of tomatoes in one day, then by God, I'm canning that day. I'll just cut some celery out of the garden. Oh, that's another thing he did. That's another thing. Now, this is if you have a really long growing season. He pulled up he had these celery plants growing in like these window boxes. Hey, Mama! He had these window boxes kind of where he was growing celery, right? Because think about it. It's easier to keep the water content going in a smaller space. But what he did next blew my mind. He pulled them all up. He dug them all up. Oh, and when the squashes that were in the window box, he took like an egg lifter and went down and slid and brought them up so he did not disturb the roots. Hardly at all. He took them soil and all. So then he took all his celery and he washed them, right? And then he started with a paring knife. Now think of a bunch of celery and the long roots on the bottom. And cutting away all of the celery, he's cutting it off in little snips, piece, until only those few really pale green couple. Then he trimmed the longest part of the weeds until it was like a mushroom. The roots were like a mushroom. He replanted them buggers and they grew again. Like, yeah, you can put celery in a glass of water, but like literally trimmed all the celery off. Didn't just cut it off. He trimmed off each piece until he got to where it was no longer feasible to use it for anything. And then he just trimmed the roots and he replanted them. I just about shit a ring around myself. I wish I had a longer growing season. It was brilliant. So if you live in the southern states where you can, you have a long growing season, right? You can do that. And if you live in a place like Florida where the sun gets really hot, go and buy yourself a piece of fabric or like a towel or some kind of thing that gives it partial shade, or plant them in partial shade. Just got home from Tom's physical therapy, 2.5 hours. Wow, that's a long haul. The jars actually say Mason on the side. We also use them as drinking vessels and storing. Yeah, whenever I can, I buy classical spaghetti sauce. But this year, I'm planning a whole other ball game. I'm going to make a spaghetti starter sauce, and I'm not going to worry about if it's thick or not. Just, tomatoes, mushrooms, celery, peppers, onion, right? And seasonings from my garden. And then I'm going to have to get out the old food mill this year because I want to make tomato powder. And the best way to make the tomato powder is make sure you get rid of all the skins. I found out that it's the skins and the seeds of the tomato that causes arthritis pain. So it's not necessarily the tomato itself. It's an acidic fruit. It's the skins and the seeds. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of tomatoes. I'll probably do all my tomatoes through the mill, through the food mill. Take the seeds and the skins and throw them in the compost. And then I'm going to make my garden medley, which will be celery, tomatoes, zucchini, and onion. And then I'm going to make my spaghetti start, which will be tomatoes, celery, peppers, onions, seasonings, and mushrooms. And then, if God willing, I have enough, I'm going to cook down and dehydrate more tomatoes so that when I use a can of homemade sauce, I don't have to use a store-bought to thicken it up. I'll just throw in a third of a cup of my tomato powder. Thick sauce. Yes, T Mama. The jars actually say Mason on the side. Are we talking about if we must buy store-bought spaghetti sauce, the Classico? Yeah, absolutely. You think about that. They designed those. That's ingenious. They designed those because they knew people would buy them to keep the jars. I wonder if the yellow or white tomatoes would be better. I'm growing the yellow Jubilees tomatoes for my dad this year. Just remember, if you can those tomatoes, do not boil bath can them. If you do, add some citric acid. Why? Because most of those hybrid yellow, white, pale tomatoes are very, very low acid. They've been hybridized to the point where there isn't enough acid to make them a stable water bath canning thing. So if you're just going to can yellow tomatoes, please pressure can them. Tomato bouillon exists. Well, one of the things I loved about having tomato powder, and the last time I made it, I used canned tomatoes and it came out tasting like tin. Oh, Daddy's home. Was there any mail? What? Can you smell the bread? He says. And we're having venison vegetable barley soup with it. You got time for a shower? Hi, Penny Metcalf. How's it going? Now, I did find my Scotia tomato package, which I'm going to try them next year too. But I want to make my own tomato powder so that I've got my soup or casserole starter with my vegetable medley, big chunks of zucchini and tomatoes and celery. And that's a good soup starter. You can put that in the crock pot, add some red beans and a cup of rice, and by God, you've got a meal. You don't even need meat. But we're going to have meat. We're going to have meat this winter, Daddy! Yay! Arthur and Mel may be coming up this weekend. Oh, I did tell you. Okay. Hey, Allison, how are you? Now, is this my friend Allison from high school or somebody else? Have you tried the Scotia tomatoes? Do you plant tomatoes in Nova Scotia, Penny? And do you try the Scotia tomatoes? I've planted Manitoba and Moscow maters, looking good so far. Well, I've got subarctic plenties. I'm just hoping they're not like a cherry tomato. But I guess it really won't matter because I'm just going to throw them in the pot and put them through the food mill. I'm dehydrating a lot of tomatoes this year. Well, it's not just tomato. It's like tomato paste in a can is nasty because you keep it for a long time and it eats away and it starts to taste tinny. No matter, a year before the best before date's used, right? But another thing is you take a tablespoon of tomato powder and you add your Italian seasonings, an extra oregano, and you add a half a cup of boiling water or a third of a cup of boiling water, and you've got instant pizza sauce. Right? Hey, Queenie, yes, we're still here. But listen, the Manitoba said they were determinate, so I planted in big pots. Yes. And I do believe the subarctic plenty are determinate as well. But anything that grows up any higher than that above the cage gets cut off anyway. Right? I want to use as much of my growing time going into the tomatoes and not into more foliage growth. Pumpkin powder too. Absolutely. Oh, I forgot to put pumpkin in the supper tonight. I'll do it another day. Another soup. So, it's been an hour and a half, guys. I got to go. I got to dish up dinner and watch some TV with Papa. But you can look forward to a video on Monday about what I did this week. And how I squeezed the quarter, and made it a beaver, right? Elks on our quarters. When they fart a beaver nickel. Oh, excellent, excellent. Got to take care of Mom. Love y'all. Take care, Village Stetter. Good night, Fiona. I'm going to have pumpkins coming out my ears. Well, this year I'm growing zucchini and spaghetti squash. Next year, this is what I meant to say. If I get enough zucchini for the freezer, grated zucchini for the freezer, sliced and chopped zucchini for the freezer, canned zucchini in my garden medley, if I have enough to do me 2 years, I'm going to plant winter squash next year. Do not plant winter squash and summer squash in the same garden. Bees only know squash flowers are squash flowers. And don't plant your cucumbers too close to your melons. And don't plant, I mean, if you're going to planning on saving seeds, right? Hey, Lisa Arky. All right. Toasted bagel with more cream cheese than God says is okay. Crispy bacon and a sliced tomato from the garden. Oh, where's the drool button? You probably will have enough zucchini. I hope so. I hope so. Anyway, this is the time people are starting to leave because they know what's coming up. This is the time that we say a little prayer. And thank you. I want to say thank you for coming in and sharing ideas, because I love nothing more than sharing my ideas with you guys on how we can, every time a food has to pass through the hands of a middleman, it goes up in price because of the cost of gas. Okay? Employees, and nobody's making more money. People aren't getting raises. Just everything else is going up. So we have to get canny, don't we? Hey, Mindy. God bless, darling. Eating a chicken sandwich with pesto, onion, and pepper jack cheese. Well, it's time for me to go dish up that venison vegetable barley soup and a hunk of homemade bread. I'm trying to let it cool before I slice into it. I might give them a bun instead. So that's what's for supper. And you know what? When bread is $4 a loaf, a loaf and you only get 8, 16, 20 slices, it's time to start baking your own, right? All right. For all those who care to, please help me close with a spiritual blessing. You get in touch with your faith, your higher power. I will connect with mine. And this is where we drop the walls of that religion have forced between us. And we come together in the commonality of having a faith in a God that is all good all the time. Right? So a nice deep breath. Hey, God, one source creator of all. How's it going, God? We come together today, God, because we want to share ideas on how we can survive what seems to be happening to our world. Prices are going up, gas is going up, and when gas prices go up, everything goes up exponentially. So, ideas on how we can grow greens on our counter and balcony garden and grow upwards instead of outwards, and how to reuse. Forget recycling. If you can't reuse the product packaging, maybe you ought to think about buying it, right, God? So please keep those ideas coming, God, because I know they're coming from you, right? I may have memories and I may have ideas, but I know they're God-inspired. Thank you for my garden that is so growing so well. Thank you for the job my husband has and our continued health. And most of all, God, thank you for the friends that we come together with on a regular basis so that we can share, uplift, and love. Take a special note, God, we're lifting all those folks up to you that are having a hard time with illness, loneliness, finances, rejected, neglected, addicted, abused. God, we lift those up to you, God. We do what we can, but we know it takes the touch of the Master's hand sometimes. Always, actually. Thank you, God. Amen. Namaste. Shalom. Peace be with you. Merry meet, merry part. Blessed be. Miigwech. Walk in the light of God. But remember, shine that light. Just because it illuminates and pushes back the darkness, for starters, but also because we need to shine the light for those who are coming in from the fog or the storm, right? Take care. God bless. I'll see you guys on Monday. Mwah! And don't forget, when we come together in the name of our faith is there for us, right? Don't ever forget that, and don't ever forget you're loved. Take care. God bless.